Rob has written in and says, "Hi James and Dutch, love the show, been listening since the start. On your recent show you were discussing ticket prices. Well, here are ticket prices for AEW and WWE in Cardiff Arena in Wales, the same seats." So I did my own research. So AEW is doing a Dynamite taping a few days before All in Wembley. So this is less than 2 weeks away, essentially. And then WWE is going to be holding an event in the same building, but I think it's a house show in like October. WWE for first, like not the floor, but the first tier, the first raised bit. WWE are charging £96.35. AEW are charging £150.35 for the same seat. And
AEW is charging more than WWE?
AEW is charging more than 50% more for the exact same seats in the same building.
Really?
Mm.
I think it would be just the opposite. Wouldn't you think?
You'd think, especially because keep in mind that they're struggling to sell tickets to Wembley All In at this point, right? And Cardiff isn't a million miles away from... It's like 3 hours drive. Okay, it's fairly far away, in fairness. But the thing is that are you going to pay £150, which is what, $200, for a bog standard seat for a TV taping? Or are you going to spend that same amount of money and go to Wembley Stadium and see a massive show?
No, I would go to Wembley if I was going to spend that money.
Of course.
But you think that would be reversed, to tell you the truth. How big is Cardiff of the arena?
I don't know, it's like the Motor Point Arena or whatever it used to be called. It's not big.
Is it an older one?
I don't know if it's an older one. It's not big.
I've been in the one, it was an old building, or a pretty old building. But I kind of like the building. Does it have a stage in it?
Oh, good. I'm just having a look here. Hang on. So it's the Cardiff International Arena. I hope this is the right one. 5,000 seated.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a big one.
5,000 is not big.
No, sorry. Right. So I'm right. Yeah, it's the Utilita Arena, Cardiff. The capacity is 5,000 seated. It's probably a bit bigger for wrestling, but yeah. And the other thing is that AEW was sold like no tickets to it. And to make matters worse, they're not even advertising it properly. I asked on Twitter earlier, and someone said the most they've done is a brief lower third crawl, right? And then they've mixed that in with a couple of other, like an esports arena and somewhere else as well. So they barely advertised this show, and it's a Dynamite taping.
Wow. Who's in charge of that? Tony?
Mm-hmm. Ultimately, yeah.
Yeah, ultimately. But they're not going to draw with that. Listen, I told people one time, I said, if they said Jesus Christ was going to walk through that field tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, and they just said it a time or two, well, hell, you wouldn't have anybody there. But if you broadcast it like a big event, like he's coming over, hell, you'd sell it out, the whole field. But they got to know what's going to happen, or at least they're going to be there.
So in the States, I did work this out. A front row seat for an event next month in Texas is $320 to an AEW Dynamite taping.
Ringside,
front row.
Yeah.
Have a guess how much it is in Cardiff. This is just the Dynamite taping, bog standard. Same deal. It was a Dynamite taping in the States, Dynamite taping here. I'll tell you what it is. About $1,000.
In Texas?
No, in Cardiff. In Texas, it was $320.
$1,000. And it's $300 in Texas.
Yeah.
Which basically. I think is highly, highly overrated. And it's overpriced. When did all these damn wrestling ticket prices just skyrocket?
I'll tell you. COVID. Because there couldn't be any live events for about a year, and then ticket prices shot up after the fact to make up for that, and then they found that people would continue paying, and therefore all ticket prices have gone crazy since then. They basically found that people will continue paying ridiculous prices, except for AEW, because they've barely sold any seats to this thing because they haven't advertised it.
Oh my God. Hey, this world has left me behind because I do not understand this at all. Would you pay $1,000?
Okay, I'd have to think twice about 100.
Yeah.
But I'm just a cheapskate. I turned down
If
a
I
few
couldn't
years
get
ago,
in
seen Stevie Wonder for $80, and I was like, equivalent of. I was like, I'm not paying that. And that's Stevie Wonder. I mean, he couldn't see me. He wouldn't have missed me. But
Now that was a mean joke. That
wasn't me
talking about his vision. No, it's just too much. It really is. Even football prices in the U.S. I wouldn't pay a college game paying $200 or $300 to go to the game. Watch it on TV. Watch it. Listen to it on radio and visualize it. But I'm not spending $300 to go and watch a damn football game. I'm not doing it.
Do you know when I've been to like UFC or wrestling and have had bad seats, do you know what I'm doing? I'm just looking up at the screen and watching it on the screen. And I'm paying for the privilege.
No kidding. You're in the crowd. Yeah. So unless it's tax deductible and you had your business by it.
Now, we talked about this not too long ago. WWE, with Clash at the Castle, I think like a get-in price was like the equivalent of $350 or $400. It was a huge amount of money, right? But the fact is that WWE was actually selling those tickets, and there's the difference. So, but like AEW, they're really pricing their fans out, and they've jacked up the price at Wembley this year as compared to last year, and they're sold about half the tickets. So they won't make as much. They're not going to make as big a loss, obviously, but they're pricing people out a lot at the moment. AEW, WWE can get away with it, but AEW can't.
You know who else? Are you recording right now?
Oh yeah.
Okay. You know who else did that?
Well,
priced themselves out of Disney in Orlando. Oh, it just skyrocketed. Because what they did, they didn't want like average people really coming because they caused problems. So they just shut the prices up. Now they have like half the people, but like their intake is more. Because now you don't have the long lines and waiting for the rides and all. Because sometimes what I call the lower scale people, they can't afford it. So it keeps them out. And I think that's they intended to keep them out.
Rightly so, as well.
Because they didn't want them there because, they didn't know how to act, I think. And I heard of fights up there, and you never used to hear that about, my daughter is an expert on Disney. You never heard of a fight at Disney. Never. Till after the pandemic. Then they started letting people back in, and then they lowered their prices now. And then they saw, well, we got to go up on them. And I think that's why they did it.
So like people started squaring up on Goofy.
Or Mickey Mouse. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.